I dreamt. We had a kid. It was so real. We named him after your eccentric uncle. What was his name?
Right.
Morgan. Morgan.
So you woke up and thought
Naturally.
that we were...
Expecting.
Yeah.
Yes?
No.
Please? Maybe?
We don't even have a wedding date yet.
You set August 27th. We had a
That's the
wedding date.
decoy date.
So we have to get married before that
Yes.
date.
Because, no,
Okay, so we
after
already got
that
that.
You
date.
should just elope, because this media circus that's going on is driving me crazy.
Okay.
This is me on edge.
I'm sorry.
Because I'm trying to keep all the pictures out of the paper and off the internet so that your wedding's not ruined.
No
All right?
one's working harder than
Remember
you.
that kid from TMZ that you had me trade paint with on the FDR Drive? Well, I got a case against me now.
That's my fault?
Yeah, it's your fault. Lose some hap like the Godfather. It's really funny. Now I got to go to court.
That's why when you get out of the cart and just de-stress, just
Plus,
walk with us.
Bert! I see you, Bert! Hold on. Bert, you son of a bitch. Come here, Bert! Come here!
Man, we got to get him a girlfriend. You know anyone? Anyone come to mind who would maybe... What?
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. So big news you may have seen this morning. They just confirmed the future of the Iron Man characters after Avengers Endgame. So we got to break it down. There's a new round of that Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Iron Man moment from the MCU on the video. The really cool thing about this is that it also confirms what's going on during the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer at the beginning when we see Happy show up with that giant check with Pepper Potts' name on it. I know there's a lot of questions about what's going to happen to Iron Man, but one of the Iron Man actors confirmed what's happening with the characters going forward after Avengers Endgame during Marvel Phase 4. This sort of tangentially also backdoor confirms what's happening with some of the other characters, because it is the end of a lot of the big A-list original Phase 1 Avengers contracts. Some of them will be re-signing. We already found out that Chris Hemsworth, Thor, wants to continue on and do more movies. But the really big person who has said that he's basically out effectively in a couple big interviews in the last year is Chris Evans. So I'll explain, like this all ties together because of a recent interview. So it's actually pretty cool. But what happened this morning is that everyone was reporting on Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow, saying that she was not re-signing a new contract after Avengers Endgame. She's like, I'm out. This is what her quote reads. She says, I'm a bit old to be in a suit, and she's talking about Iron Man suits, like the big actual metal suits, and all that at this point. She's 46 in real life right now, which technically isn't that old, but she does look quite a bit older than when she was in that first Iron Man movie. She says, I feel very lucky I did it because I actually got talked into it, talking about the first Iron Man movie, like she wasn't sure whether or not she was going to join the franchise when Jon Favreau was making that first one. She says, I was friends with Jon Favreau. It was such a wonderful experience making the first Iron Man, and then to watch how important it has become to fans. She also says that she never expected to be asked back to do any more movies after that. Like, it was just that one movie. She's like, okay, I'll try this out. Because she'd mostly been doing smaller character-based films in Oscar bait like Shakespeare in Love. Like, that was the big film that she was known for before Iron Man. But because people are like, wait a minute, is she out? Does that mean that she dies? No, she actually goes on to say, I feel honored to be a part of something that people are so passionate about. Of course, if they said, can you come back for a day for like a cameo, I'll always be there if they need me. So that confirms that Pepper Potts survives the end of Avengers Endgame. She's alive at the beginning of Spider-Man Far From Home to authorize this charity payment and put her name on it to give to Happy so that Spider-Man can help rebuild the New York City homes destroyed in the Avengers final battle with Thanos during Avengers Endgame. So just to be clear, what's happening at the beginning of Spider-Man Far From Home is that Spider-Man himself is running PR for the Avengers, sort of handing the giant charity check to them via Pepper Potts and Iron Man. The reason why Pepper Potts' name is on it is because she's been CEO of Stark Industries ever since I think it was Iron Man 2 when she effectively took the title. So she'd be the one to authorize all those payments. That's why Iron Man's name isn't on it, but also the backdoor reason because they want to keep fans in the dark as much as possible about what happens to Iron Man during Phase 4. Because if Pepper Potts is a big character, Iron Man is like the biggest character. He's the granddaddy of the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point. Of course, it should go without saying that Happy Hogan goes into Marvel Phase 4 after Endgame completely unscathed because he looks happy enough here to flirt with Aunt May, much to the chagrin of Spider-Man here. Wait a minute, what just happened? But here's why I think that Iron Man survives the end of Avengers Endgame, but his role in the MCU changes so much that Robert Downey Jr. isn't around as much, but Tony Stark, Iron Man are still very visible front and center in all the movies. At least the relevant movies like the Avengers films and the Spider-Man films, just because he's so linked to that character. There have been a couple interviews and the things the actors have said, all the foreshadowing that they're doing about a big Avenger maybe dying or going away permanently in Avengers Endgame is mostly focused on Captain America, Chris Evans. If you didn't see it, last year when Infinity War was happening and they were doing all this press, he was also doing a play. That's why he had this weird looking mustache. Very different looking Chris Evans. During the interview that he gave for that, he effectively said that he was done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Avengers Endgame. Now, he wasn't 100% confirming that he was going to die, but definitely confirmation at least that he'd be pulling a Gwyneth Paltrow and not re-signing a new contract. There was also a convention appearance a little while ago last year where he talked about his last day on set that had this very final tone to it, air of finality, like this is the end of my time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So here's the clip of him talking about that.
I don't know. You don't want to give anything away, and I should clarify that. I know I did tweet something that made a lot of people think that it was in some way spoiler, and I should clarify that regardless of how Avengers 4 ends, I would have tweeted the exact same thing. It really was. That last day of filming was a very emotional day, and it's the culmination of almost 10 years of filming and 22 movies, this unbelievable tapestry, and you feel a lot more emotions than I think even I thought I'd feel, and I felt it was appropriate to share the gratitude. I know it had a ripple effect, but I am neither confirming nor denying anything, and to that end, I think anything I would, any sort of label I would give the Fourth Avenger would give away too much, and
it's a smart man.
So after that interview came out, a lot of people, especially the Russos, tried to sort of contextualize what he was meaning by that. So he's not saying that he's dead, but definitely that there's an air of finality about his performance during Avengers Endgame. Like, you're never going to see Captain America, Chris Evans, like this in the MCU again. That doesn't mean that he'll never come back, because remember, it's a comic book universe, Secret Wars, other really crazy big Avengers crossover films, multiverse films, Secret Invasion, Skrulls impersonating Captain America. There are a million ways that they could bring him back in the movies. Anthony Russo also recently said that Chris Evans was not done in the MCU, and I think he's not being completely honest, but listen to the way he talks about it.
I mean, I think it was more emotional for him than us, only because, he's not done yet. So, and I won't explain what that means, but the audience will soon understand what I'm talking about.
What I think he means when he says that, like he says, fans will understand why Chris Evans isn't totally done in the MCU once they see Avengers Endgame, is that it means that he'll probably come back for cameos and less strenuous scenes, like Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts. Like, I'm not going to do another really big film, but I will totally come back for a day for a really quick scene. So we're talking like the funny promos during Spider-Man Homecoming, flashbacks in other movies, and the potential to return in movies that are set during the past when he was still alive. The Black Widow movie is a really good example of that takes place before the events of her first appearance inside the MCU during Iron Man 2. Here's the thing though, there's also a report that Disney and Kevin Feige have offered Chris Evans a deal, like a contract in real life, to direct some of the new Marvel Avengers spin-off TV shows that they're making for the Disney streaming service. Like they're doing the Winter Soldier Falcon show, they offer Chris Evans a directing job on that. Chris Evans' primary reason for leaving the MCU is that he wants to work on his smaller indie films that he's known for doing when he's not doing big blockbusters. He does want to be a director himself, so call that the Ben Affleck type of contract, where the studio says, we'll help finance and release your little indie movies that you want to make by yourself if you also want to continue being part of our big system in some way, even if it's only behind the camera or for an occasional cameo. What about Iron Man, though? What's going to happen to him? This is the reason why I think that he's going to survive, is one, because you have to have a balance of downer moments and really happy moments at the end of Avengers Endgame, because it's the bookend for all these first 22 films. So if Captain America is going to be the downer ending, like we're either laying him to rest because he's died, or he's, lost to the aether in some way or trapped in the soul gem, you need to have a happy moment to balance that out. And Iron Man's wedding to Pepper Potts can be that happy moment. The deleted scene of Iron Man and Pepper Potts from Infinity War says it all. There's so much foreshadowing in that. Shirts in your closet, our wedding date. I had a dream that was so real that we had a kid and we named him after your eccentric uncle. So that's why I think that Iron Man lives and semi-retires to be with Pepper Potts and effectively raise their eventual child, however that's going to manifest, even though that's a big break from comic book canon. Because in most versions of the comics, Iron Man is a confirmed bachelor for life, regardless of the relationships that he has here and there. There's even a future timeline where he becomes Sorcerer Supreme and he's a much wiser, more balanced version of Tony Stark, but he's still a confirmed bachelor. He has no children. I think the reason why the MCU is pushing them having a kid so hard is just because it's a more traditional narrative for characters like this. Like, people want that happy ending, so they have to find a way to give it to them while also still pulling the rug out from under you by getting rid of Captain America. I'm fairly ambivalent about the Pepper Potts character. Stays or leaves, I don't really care that much. So if she comes back for a really cool cameo in a future Spider-Man movie or something like that, I'll be totally fine with it. In terms of Iron Man, as long as he shows up for at least a little bit in the future Avengers movies, I will be totally happy, even if it's only for a moment or to give them some help or some technology, or if it's even just a voicemail to Spider-Man to give him a little bit of a pep talk because he's taking all this additional responsibility on his shoulders during Spider-Man Far From Home. There are a lot of ways to have scenes involving Robert Downey Jr. without Tony Stark Iron Man having to be on screen in a full-blown Iron Man suit. So let me know in the comments, what do you think happens to Iron Man after Avengers Endgame and going into Phase 4? How do they continue to use him even if Robert Downey Jr. isn't around quite as much? There's supposed to be a couple more trailers this week, so whatever ends up dropping, I will totally make videos for it. Leave your requests in the comments below. Click here for all my Avengers Endgame videos, and click here for my brand new Shazam trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.